a man.
Depend on Jim Matson. Weeknights on HOI News.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters. And this is 2020.
From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life. With Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. This is 2020. Tonight, it's home to millions of Americans. Your apartment complex. Is it a safe place to live?
We only had one incident, and that was it.
That's what rental agents told us. Now we're going to tell you the frightening truth.
It woke me up, and I looked up, and there was a guy sitting on my bed grinning down at me.
An eye-opening hidden camera investigation. In apartments like these, we found a pattern of serious crime, burglaries, rapes, even murders. But are the tenants told?
The apartment complex knew these other women didn't have to be raped.
Are you impressed by your security? Our expert wasn't.
With a little bit of effort, we could have lifted that window right off his track and just pushed it in.
In complex after complex, the pitch was the same.
We don't have problems.
Only the victims' names were different. Tom Gerald's investigation could be a lifesaver. Who's watching your place? And surprising news about obese Americans. No matter what you think, they really can't help it.
I think 2 weeks is the longest I ever stayed on the diet.
Doctors say their brains are different. That's why they eat. Now, powerful drugs are giving them hope.
I have that one chicken breast or that one chicken thigh, whatever, and I had enough of it. It's enough.
But is the drug safe? Hugh Downs with valuable information about the medical discovery that offers hope to thousands of Americans. The obesity pill. Plus, the first witnesses, police, friends, neighbors tell their stories. Then, an emotional moment. Today, Denise Brown describes how O.J. Simpson treated her sister, Nicole.
Picked her up, threw her against a wall. Picked her up, threw her out of the house.
Dramatic revelations from The State versus O.J. Simpson. Those stories tonight, February 3rd, 1995, after this brief message.
The Mazda 626 was designed to be an aerodynamic capsule, stable at speeds up to 125 miles per hour.
And behold, the two of you shall talk.
With front-wheel drive, dual airbags, and an available V6. So even at 55, you can feel secure knowing
To honor and obey.
you've made the right decision. Now the decision is easier. Lease the Mazda 626DX for $199 a month with $1,000 down.
Oh, I can't wait to tell you the news. You know all that seafood you love at Red Lobster? Well, we've just lowered our prices. Our new menu has 15 dinners under $10, like our shrimp sampler, just $7.99, with sizzling scampi, flame grilled shrimp, fried shrimp, plus bread and
This is the time when dreams are made. And as another day is put to bed, a tired eye blinks once, twice. Good night, sleepyhead. Serta. We make the world's best mattress.
Next week on Today, advice on how to get a better night's sleep. Plus, Sean Connery, Glenn Close, and skating with Nancy Kerrigan. So join us next week and see what a difference today makes.
Now let's take a look at some of the stories we're working on for next week's Dateline.
I walked in the door and she just looked at me and she said, "You're having an affair." She just knew.
He was fooling around. She was fooling around. What makes so many couples cheat?
We are an animal driven by a whole pile of urges.
She claims it's genetic. But does adultery have to ruin a marriage? Plus, he was a rising star with his sights set on the Olympics. Now he's serving time for murder.
That I know that I didn't kill Maria, and I know that till the end of time.
Now, we've discovered the evidence may not add up, and a new witness has come forward to say they've got the wrong man.
Depend on Jim Matson. Weeknights on HOI News.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters, and this is 2020.
From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life. With Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. This is 2020. Tonight, it's home to millions of Americans. Your apartment complex. Is it a safe place to live?
We only had one incident, and that was it.
That's what rental agents told us. Now we're going to tell you the frightening truth.
It woke me up, and I looked up, and there was a guy sitting on my bed grinning down at me.
An eye-opening hidden camera investigation. In apartments like these, we found a pattern of serious crime, burglaries, rapes, even murders. But are the tenants told?
The apartment complex knew these other women didn't have to be raped.
Are you impressed by your security? Our expert wasn't.
With a little bit of effort, we could have lifted that window right off his track and just pushed it in.
In complex after complex, the pitch was the same.
We don't have problems.
Only the victims' names were different. Tom Gerald's investigation could be a lifesaver. Who's watching your place? And surprising news about obese Americans. No matter what you think, they really can't help it.
I think 2 weeks is the longest I ever stayed on the diet.
Doctors say their brains are different. That's why they eat. Now, powerful drugs are giving them hope.
I have that one chicken breast or that one chicken thigh, whatever, and I had enough of it. It's enough.
But is the drug safe? Hugh Downs with valuable information about the medical discovery that offers hope to thousands of Americans. The obesity pill. Plus, the first witnesses, police, friends, neighbors tell their stories. Then, an emotional moment. Today, Denise Brown describes how O.J. Simpson treated her sister, Nicole.
Picked her up, threw her against a wall. Picked her up, threw her out of the house.
Dramatic revelations from The State versus O.J. Simpson. Those stories tonight, February 3rd, 1995, after this brief message.
The Mazda 626 was designed to be an aerodynamic capsule, stable at speeds up to 125 miles per hour.
And behold, the two of you shall talk.
With front-wheel drive, dual airbags, and an available V6. So even at 55, you can feel secure knowing
To honor and obey.
you've made the right decision. Now the decision is easier. Lease the Mazda 626DX for $199 a month with $1,000 down.
Oh, I can't wait to tell you the news. You know all that seafood you love at Red Lobster? Well, we've just lowered our prices. Our new menu has 15 dinners under $10, like our shrimp sampler, just $7.99, with sizzling scampi, flame grilled shrimp, fried shrimp, plus bread and salad, just $7.99. How's everything?
Delicious.
You know, with our delicious seafood and 15 dinners under $10, you're gonna love Red Lobster even more. See you soon.
It's the fastest growing segment of the housing market, apartment complexes. They're home for millions of Americans, including college students, young people out on their own for the first time, and older retired people, which makes it so important to know if they are safe and secure places in which to live. And so we conducted an extensive investigation, checking into 9 different apartment complexes. What we found is a troubling and dangerous pattern.
We scrutinized the crime statistics at these apartment complexes. Then we brought in an expert to evaluate their security measures and used hidden cameras to show you how prospective renters can be misled and sometimes outright lied to about information that's critical to their safety. as Tom Jarrell will show you, what you don't find out might hurt you.
Apartment living is on the rise. 30 million Americans live in complexes like this, surrounded by lush, manicured grounds, swimming pools, tennis courts. They've become home to students, singles, and couples, a $60 billion a year industry. You'd think with all the plush accommodations, the landlord would provide something else: safety, security. It's a fact of life. Crime is everywhere. If you owned a home, your safety would be your responsibility. When you rent in most states, it's the landlord's responsibility to provide a reasonably safe and secure premises. But a 6-month investigation by 2020 has revealed that many apartment complexes are favorite targets of criminals. From the outside, a complex can look like a resort. Sometimes it can be anything but.
And I remember I woke up because I felt a cold object on between my thighs. And it woke me up, and I looked up, and there was a guy sitting on my bed grinning down at me.
If you talk to rental agents, you'll get the usual sales pitch.
There's just a lot of fun activities, hiking, horseback riding.
Right. Sounds great.
Yeah.
But listen to some of the rental agents we talked to when they were asked if they knew anything about crime at their complexes.
I don't. You can call 911 and ask them.
Then it sounds like I'm trying to avoid the question, but I really just don't know.
Uh-huh.
I would feel safe living here.
You've never heard of any instances of, people being mugged or raped or anything like that?
There was a rape, but it wasn't just here. It was the whole stretch on Roswell Road, and they did catch the guy. So we only had one incident, and that was it.
Okay.
Actually, there were 2 rapes at that complex. Maybe they didn't know, or maybe they weren't saying. But the real history in these apartment complexes is shown in police crime reports. Take this sprawling development in Atlanta. There are more than 1,000 units spread over 80 wooded acres. Apparently unknown to these 4 women who lived here was the fact that rapes were occurring over and over again during a 7-year period.
First of all, I had no idea that there were other girls who had been raped. I asked them, well, what are you doing about it? And all they said was, well, management's aware of it and there's nothing we can do.
Jill was attacked in the summer of 1984. She didn't know that 7 months earlier, Laura had been raped.
I woke up to my screams. I was screaming in my sleep, and that's how I woke up.
When Pam was raped in February of '85, she says the leasing office hardly seemed surprised.
And they said, so you're the one.
So you're the one.
So you're the one. So you're the latest rape victim.
By the time Ruth was followed home one night in the spring of '90, the apartment managers had installed alarm systems. But Ruth's wasn't working, and she says management had not responded to her request for a repair.
It never functioned, so I never...
You knew it was hopeless.
I knew it was hopeless, but I kept thinking if that was working, that sound would go off.
Mm-hmm.
These were just 4 of 15 women raped or sexually assaulted at the same apartment complex between 1983 and 1990. And that wasn't the half of it. Their attorney, Gilbert Deitch, mapped out the story he says these apartment owners never revealed.
Yes, the red represents sexual assaults. Right. The yellow represents peeping toms. The green represents crimes against person. The blue represents common area vandalism.
Using 1994 statistics, we asked Deitch to chart the latest crimes.
I guess the good news is that the rapes have not occurred there. However, there have been 1 or more murders.
What would someone considering renting one of these units think if they saw your graphic of crimes that have occurred here?
I think the leasing agent would have to catch them going down the street.
I'm almost more angry at the apartment complex than at the actual attack, because the apartment complex knew these other women didn't have to be raped.
Norman Bates is an attorney and liability consultant. He studied 1,000 court cases and says they show a pattern of disregard by landlords for tenant security.
If they looked at security in the same way they looked at preventive maintenance programs for the roof and the boiler and the other mechanical systems in the property, security could be treated the same way and be a whole lot better than it is today.
Since 1992, the apartment complex where these women were raped has changed names and been under new management. $7 million has been spent by Gables Residential Trust on behalf of the owners renovating the property. Using a hidden camera, we sent a 2020 staff member in to pose as a prospective tenant to check it out.
What can I do for you? I'm looking for an apartment.
And off they went. They were shown a one-bedroom apartment, and the first thing the rental agent pointed out was the alarm system, which she claimed the tenants are taught to use. Next, there was the sales pitch for a locking device called a Charlie bar on the sliding glass doors.
Say, for instance, even if she forgets to lock her door, they still cannot get in.
I see.
And then the pin lock.
Or we drill holes through this metal here and have a pin. You saw like that pin that was in the window?
Yeah, right.
We have a longer one that goes from here all the way through this here, okay?
She also pointed out the window locks, 3 on every window. Sounds good. Back at the rental office, our next question was...
Not to sound totally paranoid, but coming from New York, so there have been like no rapes or muggings even before you took the place? Okay.
The only thing that occurred on here, there was a murder.
Oh, really?
But it was domestic.
Hold on here. That's inaccurate information. Police records obtained by 2020 show that within 6 months prior to our visit, there were 2 armed robberies involving aggravated assaults, a carjacking and kidnapping, plus several thefts and burglaries. The company claims they distribute printed letters to all residents, alerting them to, quote, any criminal activity, unquote. But try getting a look at them if you want to rent an apartment.
Would there be any way I could see, like, just a couple of the last ones to see?
Let me see.
That would be just...
Well, unfortunately, Joy, we don't have the letter of the last one, but...
Earlier, she told us to call the police department.
You don't, just like in your Rolodex or something, have that number for the DeKalb Police Department, do you?
I don't think so. Just 911.
2020 finally did obtain the notices for January through November of last year, but only at our insistence from management. The flyers reported 13 serious and minor criminal incidents. But that's not the whole picture. Police were called to the property 188 times and considered 38 of them to be serious crimes. 3 top managers of the Gables Company sat down with 2020.
We do routinely collect the same crime statistics that you have. If someone comes in off the street and wants to see those, they're made available to them. So we have nothing to hide here.
Someone came in and asked for those specifically, inquiring about an apartment, and was told, call 911. Was that a proper answer?
They should have been given access to those incident reports from the police, along with any notifications that we had.
But tenants were not notified about an incident that occurred at this apartment last August. 20-year-old Tanya filed this police report. Tanya and her roommate Keisha reported a man was trying to enter their ground floor apartment through a dining room window.
And as I looked, I saw a figure.
You saw a man trying to come in?
Yeah, it looked like they were, like messing with the window.
Fortunately, the intruder did not succeed, but Tanya was clearly shaken, and she says she called the rental office to report the incident.
And I told them that I wanted the security guard to come out, and they said they didn't have 24-hour security. Nobody could come out.
Did not have 24-hour security.
They did not. And I said, well, I thought you did. And they said, no, we don't.
Supposedly someone that's always walking around or watching the grounds, and if you had a problem, you just call the number and they'd be right out here. But obviously that wasn't true.
Tanya and Keisha believed that these 24-hour guards were provided for their security. They were wrong. What do they do?
He's actually here to monitor the property, for us, making sure there's no vandalism on, the offices or the amenities or anything like that.
They look like security guards, but they're called courtesy officers, and they're not there for tenants' personal safety. We introduced Tanya and Keisha to security consultant Larry Talley, retained by 2020 as an expert. We asked if he could look around and inspect their apartment. Remember the pin lock that was touted by the rental agent as providing safety on the sliding glass door?
We have a longer one that goes from here all the way through this here.
In Tanya's apartment, this one is not even installed correctly.
The problem with your door is that the pin does not go all the way through to the second door.
And as for the window locks?
With a little bit of effort, we could have lifted that window right off its track and just pushed it in and gained entry into the apartment.
Her alarm?
Did anyone show you to press an emergency panic button that would set the alarm system off?
No, nobody showed us that.
The front door locks.
It goes into a wooden frame door, which is a very flimsy type frame, which could be kicked open very easily.
Does it make you feel better or worse to hear what Mr. Talley has said about your security here at home?
Worse.
Jordan Clark says his company is committed to strengthening security and noted numerous improvements.
We came back to every single window, every sliding glass door, and added not one additional lock, but 2 additional locks.
We found a pin that you're supposed to insert was totally improperly put in, so that it actually was a hazard.
I can't comment on that particular one. I presume it had 3 locks on that sliding glass door, one on the handle and a Charlie bar as well.
A Charlie bar, and it had the pin. It didn't even have a lock in the handle itself. There was no way to lock it except the Charlie bar and the pin.
These locks together, when all properly installed, are effective, but alone they might not do the job. So behind the beauty at Briarcliff, there are problems, but they're not uncommon to those renting apartments. That's why getting accurate crime statistics is crucial. But if crime is minimized to a prospective tenant, a false sense of security could lead to dangerous repercussions. In Dallas, Texas, we found another example. Rental manager Earl Thompson reassured our staffer this way.
You're going to have probably the same type problems that you would have in any small town, but we don't have major problems.
We checked the Dallas Police Department records and went back to ask him some questions.
Mr. Thompson?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Tom Gerald. I'm with ABC News 2020.
Hi, Gerald.
Nice to meet you. We checked 3 years of reports of crime in the area here. 11 rapes, a number of robberies, burglaries, Uzis, and a lot of gunfire.
It's hard for me to answer that, Tom. We took the apartment in February of '93.
Right. In fact, this includes '93, which was your year of being here. Now, one of our colleagues came in and inquired about renting here and was told you had no major problem with crime.
No, that was not true. That's not what I told her. What I told her is that
We don't have major problems.
I explained.
Your words.
I explained to her that our situation is no more greater than any other area.
Your words, sir. Again, we don't have major problems. On October 30th of '93, an Uzi was fired. At least 7 shots were fired. April the 3rd, carjacking. That's not a burglary, but it's pretty serious when someone is carjacked off your parking lot. It's in the police reports.
I understand what you're saying.
That sounds like major problems.
I do understand what you're saying, Tom. So it's not like I've misled anybody. That's not me. And anybody who knows me know that I don't do that.
Crime, as Mr. Thompson pointed out, is in every community. But in most states, those renting apartments have a responsibility to make them reasonably safe, including the maintenance of protective devices. See this broken security gate at his complex? We asked about it.
My computer, my brains are out. Yeah, we were having the brains repaired. The 1 and the 5 was sticking, so we had to have them send back.
Oh, it's getting repaired.
Oh, yes.
But it's been consistently broken. 2020 obtained these 1993 Night Watch activity reports filed each night by their own courtesy officers. You see report after report noting the broken gate. And the gate wasn't working on March 14th, 1993, when Angela McDonald was parking her car at the complex. She was abducted and carjacked off the property and murdered in front of her 4-year-old son.
When we come back, a convicted rapist will tell you how easy it can be for criminals to get inside your apartment. And they don't always break in. Sometimes they have a key. Tom Gerald's investigation continues after this.
"2020, brought to you by Lincoln Mercury and the complete line of Lincoln luxury automobiles.
There are cars known for their luxury. And there are cars known for their technology. Now there's a car with the perfect balance of both. The all-new Lincoln Continental with the V8 Intech system. The perfect balance of luxury and technology.
What is it your mother always said?
Wear clean underwear in case you're in an accident. As if that's ever really happened. As if a doctor would ever notice your underwear. Don't risk it, whisk it. Because you know Whisk gets out the toughest stains, like this. Then Whisk puts those same stain-fighting ingredients to work on everything you wash. To get out all kinds of stains on all kinds of clothes. Remember, you're going to be wearing what you wash. Don't risk it, whisk it.
That rat-a-tat-tat celebrating a new day. The way that peach from the farmer's market is mysteriously drawn to it. That crunch waking up your mouth, then your body, then your mind. The natural, nutty, uncompromised taste. That rare feeling of doing something good for yourself and enjoying every last bit. That experience is pure grape nuts.
Oh, Cliff, do you have a second? Sure. Listen, I know we're not getting the savings that you expected from our new long-distance company, but I have a solution here. We could go back to AT&T at a guaranteed competitive price.
Thank you, Brian.
Cliff, I've solved our long-distance savings problems. Look, AT&T guarantees competitive prices.
Nice work, Danielle.
Cliff, just thought I'd be the first to show you this.
Thanks, Paul.
Switch to AT&T for guaranteed competitive prices. Call 1-800-COMPARE.
Hey, Cliff.
AT&T, for the life of your business.
Reviews are in on the Marshall.
Distinctive.
Action-packed.
Stylish.
Smart.
High energy.
And Jeff Fahey is
charismatic.
Clever.
Likable.
Commanding.
Dazzling.
The series premiere of The Marshall, Saturday at 10, 9 Central, here on ABC. Sunday.
Welcome to the revolution.
The deadliest battleship is about to take over the world.
Wake up the president.
And only one man can stop it. Steven Seagal and Tommy Lee Jones. Under Siege, Sunday. Parental discretion advised.
Tuesday on NYPD Blue, is Simone falling in love?
You seem very cheery today.
An all-new Blue, Tuesday on ABC. Viewer discretion advised.
Our investigation of apartment complex safety has made one thing very clear. Appearances are often deceiving. Behind the fences of even the best residential complexes, tenants may be at risk and not even know it. As Tom Jarrell continues, you'll see, as we did, that locking your windows and doors is often not enough to protect you. Determined criminals know a much simpler way to get inside.
How do they get in? Controlling access to apartment complexes is a major deterrent to crime. This convicted serial rapist could write a textbook about preying on apartment dwellers. He asked us to conceal his identity.
Most places are wide open. You walk up to it from any angle you want to and go about the business that you want to go about.
One complex he stalked on a regular basis was this one, the Brook in Austin, Texas. Jana Moore was attacked by him.
Well, he apparently had been in my apartment one time that I was completely unaware of. And he had hidden under the bed and waited till I was asleep. And then he got up and sat and watched me most of the night, watched me sleeping.
Although this rapist usually entered through a window, for some intruders, it's much simpler than that. They merely come through the front door using a key. That's why storing keys in a safe and secure manner and controlling who has access should be a top priority to managers.
I never was concerned that if I locked my door, that I would be raped.
Julie Blisky was raped in her Corpus Christi, Texas apartment.
He told me how he broke into the manager's office and found the keys on the wall, and that was the easiest job he's ever done.
So he got in without breaking a glass, without making any noise, nothing. He was just
Nothing,
there.
silent.
Bobby Lee Hines didn't need to get a specific apartment key. He used a master key to the entire complex. That key allowed him to enter the Dallas apartment of 21-year-old Wendy Haupt, where he stabbed her to death with an ice pick in 1991. So how well do other complexes guard their master keys? 2020 obtained from an outside source several keys, including a master key that had been unaccounted for many months. They were from the 9900 Memorial Apartments in Houston, Texas, managed by the Finger Company.
We need your cooperation just to check something.
Okay.
To help us and do a little test.
Okay.
Sources told 2020 this complex did not keep adequate control of the master keys. At times, over 20 were in circulation. When the master keys disappear, the only safeguard is to replace all the locks on every apartment. We wanted to test the keys we had obtained in one of their doors to find out if the locks had been changed. The leasing agent referred us by phone to the home office.
You're not going to let us go and just test, and if it opens the door, fine. If it doesn't, fine.
Management wouldn't let us conduct our test, so we left. But we were invited by Hal Miller, a resident at the complex, to try the keys in his front door. Had his lock been changed?
It will work or not, but that's one key that we have. See what it does. Are you surprised?
Yes, I am.
That someone can walk in off the street and have a key to your apartment?
Yes, I'm very surprised.
Okay, we're going to... This is a key that's been out for about 4 months, and it opened his door
Would you
very
please shut
easily.
the camera?
No, if you want the key, we have to talk just a little bit. How many master keys are there, and how many apartments are there in here to the master keys in the apartments? Do you know?
Sir, you know, again, would you please shut the cameras off?
Okay, let's...
Please.
That's the key anyway. I'm returning it to
Thank
you.
you.
That opened his door easily. I suspect it would open almost any door in the...
Finally, a tragic case, which illustrates what can happen when no one knows exactly who is staying next door. This is James Luther Clanton, a career criminal with a rap sheet for armed robbery and aggravated assault. He's hardly the man you'd want hanging around.
James Luther Clanton, come up, please.
Clanton had been on the move after allegedly murdering a young woman and stealing her car at the Lake North and Lake Terrace apartments in Atlanta.
Stars shining bright above you.
The woman was 23-year-old Dawn Kruk, who was living on her own for the first time. Her parents, Charlene and James, didn't feel her first choice of an apartment was safe and suggested she move.
She knew how upset we were about where she lived before.
As you went around looking for a safe and secure apartment with your daughter, what did you hear in terms of emphasis being put on security of apartments?
Well,
How important was it?
Very important.
That was the whole idea, was to find a safe apartment. That was what's so ironic about the whole thing. That's what our purpose was, and obviously we didn't.
Dawn moved into these beautiful apartments managed by the Sentinel Corporation. 2 weeks after Dawn moved into this second-floor apartment, she was stabbed to death on June 26, 1992.
I had to look at her as she lay there on that table. I couldn't even identify her by her pictures. The attack was so brutal.
James Luther Clanton has pled not guilty to murdering Dawn Kruk. The question is, how did a violent convicted felon like Clanton end up at the Lake North apartments? Clanton's sister lived at the complex. Residents say they saw him frequently. He had even listed the complex as his official residence on this 1991 marriage application. But Clanton was not on the lease. Whether or not Clanton lived at the complex, he was still a well-known presence there. He reportedly earned the nickname Big Money from maintenance personnel. 2020 has learned that a policeman working at the complex as a courtesy officer at the time had even reported Clanton to management, describing him as a suspicious person. On other occasions, Clanton allegedly harassed women at the swimming pool. Dawn's parents say she was one of them.
This Clanton person came up to Dawn and these two other girls that lived in the unit, the same apartment unit.
He walked by our daughter and made some lewd comments to all three of the girls. And at that time, our daughter, Dawn, just left and went back to her apartment. And that's the only real contact that she had with him.
The parents of Dawn Kruk are suing the Sentinel Corporation. The managers for the Sentinel Corporation chose not to appear on camera, but sent 2020 this letter denying responsibility for Dawn's murder and stating that, quote, prior to her murder, he had committed no crimes at Lake Terrace, and we had no justifiable means of keeping him off the property, unquote. In addition, Sentinel alleges that Dawn left her door unlocked and that Mr. Clanton knew Ms. Kruk prior to murdering her.
Was Clanton the type of person that Dawn would have socialized with or befriended?
Absolutely not.
I feel certain not.
Is every apartment complex a crime waiting to happen? Fortunately not. The Post Oak apartments in Atlanta have state-of-the-art protection for their renters. A secure perimeter fence, security gates, coded keys, and access cards controlling visitor flow. And as police reports prove, crime here is a rarity.
For them. But in general, what should someone know or do about their own apartment?
Couple of tips, Barbara. One, when you move into an apartment, make sure they rekey or change the front door lock. No telling how many keys might be out there.
Yep.
Check the existing security facilities, the locks, the windows, the lights, and so forth, to make sure they're in good operating order before you move in. They have a responsibility to do that. Ask hard questions about security. That way they know you're aware of it. These tips are from Larry Talley, our expert, and he also is a paid witness for the Kruk family, by the way.
Yeah, now, Tom, how do you manage who controls the master keys and the keys to each apartment?
That must be absolute, and it's the test of the apartment unit. It's up to the management to control them, and they have to keep them under tight control. That's the Achilles heel of security for these places.
You know, you talked about, maybe going to police or finding out what the crime rate is. I mean, if you just call the police and say, hello, I'd like to find out.
One of the
Well, they don't tell
surprises
you,
we
do they?
had was how difficult it is to get help. It's an endless paper chase. They send you to another location. It's very frustrating. You'd think they would just have that information available for you, but it's difficult to obtain.
It's good to know at least it can be done right, like that last one you showed.
Absolutely, and security is the #1 concern of people renting these days. So.
May cost a little extra money to make it safe, but it sure is worth it.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, next, have you ever seen a really overweight person and wondered, why don't they just stop eating? Well, maybe they can't. There's new research that pinpoints the source of obesity and a new drug combination that may take care of it. Hugh will tell you about that after this.
Every year, the people of North Africa bear witness to the most grueling test of man and machine, the Paris-Dakar Rally. Last year, we took first place in the marathon class. And what we learned, we put into this year's model. The differences are subtle, but if you look closely, we think you'll notice. Introducing the Trooper Limited from Isuzu.
When I got this rug, everyone said I was crazy, but it's the look I wanted. My friends always ask if they should take their shoes off. They must think I only walk on it wearing socks. You can't even tell how often I've been to that refrigerator. And when I'm going for ice cream, I'm not thinking about what's on my feet.
Presenting Woolite Heavy Traffic Carpet Cleaner. Woolite's been caring for fibers for over 40 years.
Sure, I want it to last, but not because I was afraid to walk on it.
Woolite, the fiber care expert.
I live with the times. Progress. To reveal new skin, I've discovered Plenitude XL A3 with triple fruit acids.
An innovation from L'Oreal, XL A3 with triple fruit acids lifts away dull cells and reveals new skin. Its anti-free radical complex helps combat the signs of aging. Its sun filter helps protect from UV rays. XL A3 has visible results. Smoother skin, a brighter complexion.
My skin has never looked so young.
Plenitude XL A3 from L'Oreal to reduce the signs of aging.
When the government asked them to save the world, they learned too many secrets. Redford, Phoenix, and Poitiers.
There isn't a government on this planet that wouldn't kill us all for that thing.
Monday at 8:30, 7:30 Central. Sneakers on ABC.
Get ready for this. Join Joan London for an exclusive look behind the scenes of Home Improvement.
Last year, this is my dressing room.
A first-time ever look inside the CIA and go into action like never before aboard a nuclear submarine. An all-new Behind Closed Doors with Joan London Wednesday on ABC.
A growing problem, obesity in America. Doctors say they can't help it. Their brains are different. Now there's help and hope. A drug combo that's changing lives. Hugh Downs with the obesity pill when 2020 continues. After this from our ABC stations.
money, sex, murder. Some people just can't get enough.
That man killed my daughter and he tried to kill me.
I didn't do anything. This is a frame. I can smell it.
This is an innocent man.
When you're worth $1 billion,
Never mind that Cullen was caught red-handed.
are you above the law?
More money for Cullen means more money for me.
Heather Locklear, Peter Strauss, Dennis Franz. The hottest miniseries this year. Texas Justice, February 12th on ABC.
This is an HOI News Update, brought to you by the Metro Center.
Good evening, everyone. Here's a check of what's coming up tonight from the HOI newsroom. Caterpillar and the UAW are leaving Louisville after a week of negotiations, but there's still a glimmer of hope. 2 people are without a home after a blaze totally destroys their home on Peoria's south side, and residents of a near north side Peoria neighborhood are trying to restore order. Rick says get ready for a blast of cold weather, and Jim with high school hoop action. Join us at
Flowertown is Peoria's #1 flower design shop. We deliver for you. Flowertown in the Metro Center.
When you take the long view, it's obvious this land has to last a long, long time. That means you have to farm right, producing more for right now while protecting all this for the future. One grass herbicide helps you do both. Frontier herbicide. It's how to get more control of tough grasses in corn and soybeans while using a lot less. With Frontier, what's right for right now is right for tomorrow. Frontier. Best against grass, best for the land.
Troopers hear 2 different stories, but find one conclusion on the next Real Stories of the Highway Patrol.
Tonight at 11:05, after Married with Children.
From ABC News, 2020 continues. Once again, Hugh Downs.
Well, now, a medical breakthrough that is changing the lives and the images of thousands of Americans. They are people with a serious problem. They are obese. And that description now applies to more of us than ever before. Obese people often say that they can't help it, that they feel driven to eat beyond control. Well, now there is research that backs them up. And even more exciting, a new treatment that seems to do for obese people what they can't do all by themselves.
You'll never know how it feels until you notice that people would look or laugh or, you know they're saying something. Because of your size, little kids look at you like you're some kind of monster or something. And, everybody has feelings. And everybody, has a heart. And everybody cries. And it hurts when, people laugh at you or try to put you down.
I never thought that I would get this big, gain this much weight. And it was just, I looked in the mirror one day and it was just overwhelming. I want to be normal again, and it's not normal. It isn't normal. It doesn't feel normal. Your actions aren't normal. People do not relate to you normal.
Donna Watson and Scott Glazier suffer from one of America's most common health problems, obesity. At over 400 pounds, they're at the extreme end of a national trend. The condition of being overweight has increased 30% over the last decade. 1 out of every 3 Americans is now clinically obese, which means 1/3 of our population weighs at least 20% more than doctors say they should weigh based on their height. The greater the weight, the greater the impact on health and the quality of life.
There's so many things that people take for granted, like buying their clothes. I have to sew clothes to fit me. And I thank God I can sew. I've slept in a recliner for 2.5, almost 3 years now. Because when I lay down in the bed, I just feel like my weight is pushing up to my throat and my lungs, and I just can't breathe. I think 2 weeks is the longest I ever stayed on a diet, because it was just more than I could handle.
Donna Watson's words have a familiar ring. Most overweight people have tried diets many times, and they lose weight. The problem is they don't keep the weight off. Now, for those of us who are quick to lay blame, consider this. The most recent clinical studies show that over 95% of people who use diets to control their weight gain it all back within 5 years. This is an astonishing failure rate. And yet most people still believe that the cause of obesity is a lack of willpower or discipline. But for For those so grossly overweight that their health is in danger, can a lack of willpower alone explain a lifelong addiction to food? Well, doctors now believe that the brain chemistry of obese people signals their body to overeat. It's kind of like a fat thermostat that's set too high. Well, they're now beginning to lower that thermostat with medications. And for those who have tried everything else, this new treatment offers hope.
Were you having any problems with your cholesterol?
Scott Glazier once lost 150 pounds on a liquid diet, only to gain back the weight a year later because he couldn't change his eating habits. Now he's joined an experimental weight loss program here at the Center for Nutrition and Preventive Medicine in Charlotte, North Carolina. Here, the basic approach to obesity is a medical one.
I think we have to, number one, address it as a chronic illness, realize that a chronic illness is treated long-term. And I think taking obesity and applying the same principles that we use for diseases such as high blood pressure and diabetes is the key issue.
Doctors Roy Blank and Don Schumacher, the center's medical directors, still prescribe better diet and exercise, but they've begun to use an important new therapy, a powerful combination of medications that alter the brain's chemistry and actually change the way people like Scott think about food. It was the invention of clinical pharmacologist Michael Weintraub, whose specialty is drugs and their effect on disease.
The drugs are working on the appetite centers of the brain. When that pressure to eat is removed, people are much more relaxed, can pay a lot better attention to the behavior modification, the diet, and the exercise.
Most diet drugs increase the production of specific chemicals in the brain, whose function is to stimulate the nervous system. One of the results is a loss of appetite, but the amount of drugs needed to do that often made people feel agitated and on edge. Weintraub realized that one diet drug, fenfluramine, didn't share these uncomfortable side effects because it suppressed appetite using a different pathway in the brain. It increased the release of the chemical serotonin, whose function is linked to mood change. The theory was to combine fenfluramine with phentermine, a central nervous system stimulant. By using these two different drugs, Weintraub thought he could reduce the dose of each. Side effects would decrease, but the combination would make the drugs more potent. It worked. His 4-year study brought the most promising results for obesity treatment in decades. His patients lost 15% of their weight and kept it off as long as they took the drugs. So far, the doctors at the Charlotte Nutrition Center have duplicated Dr. Weintraub's success. Theirs is the largest study in the nation, with over 1,300 patients.
Well, that's really good. You started out, you remember where you started out?
Yeah, almost 5.
Since Scott Glazier entered the program in September, he's lost more than 50 pounds. And for Donna Watson, who has failed with every other diet, the loss of 30 pounds at the Charlotte Center was her first victory in a lifelong battle.
I don't think I've ever lost 30 pounds before, ever. Life is full of hope now. This is the first time that I've ever felt like that maybe I really could lose some weight and be a normal person.
With medication suddenly helping obese people think and eat as normal people do, sensible diets are no longer the torture they were in the past. Jim Stankovic recently joined the Obesity Research Center at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital in New York City, which uses the new drug combination.
You know what? Every diet's going to require eating the right foods, including this one. The difference is you have help doing it. I have that one chicken breast or that one chicken thigh or whatever, and I had enough of it. It's enough. It is just enough. It's so hard to explain. It's enough.
Jim Stankovic's new attitude was reflected by some patients in the Charlotte study who had spent several months to a year taking the medication. They reported not only a decrease in appetite, but a fundamental change in their thinking about food.
I can even skip a meal and I don't even think about it. It's the reverse when I was not on the medication. You ate because it was there. And now our focus is not on food. Our focus is somewhere else instead of just on food.
14 months ago, Sarah Connor weighed 187 pounds. She has lost 67 pounds on the program.
I've been on diets before, and it's almost like this haunting voice behind me.
Sandy Kerrigan lost 80 pounds during the last year.
Even though I would go out to eat and would eat a salad, I would leave thinking, gee, I sure would like to have had something else. But now I eat healthy, and it doesn't bother me.
I guess the word diet just flipped me out, you know? And when I think about going on a diet, I start eating.
Linda Collier was once so desperate to lose weight that she underwent gastric partitioning, reducing the size of her stomach by having it stapled in half. It didn't kill your appetite?
Oh, well, no. I still think about food all the time.
Yeah.
And, well, and then eventually I just kept eating and then stretched it right back out. This medicine keeps me in control. I'm not thinking about food all the time.
How much weight did you lose under the system?
Oh, I've lost 112 pounds.
112 pounds?
Uh-huh.
Over what period of time?
A year.
By combining a stimulant with an antidepressant drug, has science really found a miracle cure? Well, research here at Johns Hopkins University has revealed the alarming fact that too high a dose of the mood-altering drug fenfluramine can produce brain damage. A series of studies on laboratory animals shows that fenfluramine actually destroys the very nerve fibers which produce the brain chemical serotonin. Cross-sections from the brains of drug-treated animals show enormous swelling of serotonin nerve fibers. A large number of them stop producing serotonin and eventually disappear. Scientists warn that the safe range for human dosage is unknown and may be very narrow. There are no studies on the long-term safety of fenfluramine, but so far, some 7% of the patients in Charlotte do report side effects like depression or memory loss. Judy Driscoll was one. Now, when you noticed side effects, what was it that you noticed?
Immediate loss of memory. And one very strong time that I remember was in writing postcards. I wrote about 10 or 12. But when I started writing the first sentence or the first part of it,
Why? What way was it different?
oh, I put the cart before the horse, or something was omitted. For instance, a small word like us, our, for.
You'd leave out?
The. It was gone. It wasn't there.
That'd be a little bit frightening.
I felt helpless, hopeless, but I did not want to admit it. It was frustrating and frightening.
That all went away when you stopped taking the medication?
Yes, it did.
After the doctors in Charlotte discontinued her medications, Judy Driscoll's weight loss also stopped. Frustrating as her experience was, patients whose gross obesity is life-threatening have a harder choice. For many, risking the side effects is a small price to pay.
My response to the risk of the drugs is that my obesity was killing me to start with, that there's no risk for me because I couldn't live like I was having to live. Now that I see that maybe I really can do it and that I can shop and I can go back to church, the soul that's trapped in the body is coming out.
Hugh, obviously, with the possibility of side effects, this is not for someone who wants to lose 5 or 10 pounds.
No, doctors say it isn't really. It should be prescribed only by doctors who are experts in obesity. But it doesn't.
And can watch it.
And can keep an eye on it, that's right. Yeah. And it's really a breakthrough, though, I think. It's well worth looking into because it's something new and different.
A few weeks ago, we had a woman on who was overweight, who was obese, and she said, all it takes is self-control, and you disagreed.
I disagreed because, you know, there are some people like her who do that, and then they're no longer obese. But she was generalizing that anyone could do it just with willpower, and it's much more complicated than that. It's good to have a chemical help with that.
Thank you for bringing this to people's attention. Well, next, the first week of testimony at the O.J. Simpson trial came to a dramatic end today when Nicole Brown Simpson's sister took the stand. We'll show you what happened next.
So, Mr. Rosette, what you doing?
Surfing the internet.
Don't look like a beach boy.
I'm editing Blood of the Pharaohs. This is from the University of Cairo. That's Queen Nefertiti.
Cool. Yeah, you guys kind of look alike.
The all-new Lincoln Continental has an exclusive system that lets you change the way it handles. At the push of a button, you choose the ideal suspension and steering settings to more precisely handle whatever the road presents. An attribute for which the Maine dynasty is eternally grateful. The all-new Lincoln Continental with the V8 Intech system, the perfect balance of luxury and technology.
Target may not be the first place you think of when you think of romance. But this Valentine's Day, it's the only place you'll find this incredible collection of romantic themes by Yanni. A gift idea so original, so passionate. It's enough to bring romance into anyone's life. Target. Expect more, pay less.
ABC News 2020 will continue in a moment.
Saturday, ABC Sports has football's top talent, bowling's kingpins in Texas, and skating's premier pairs. First, the NFL's top stars test their skills in the Miller Lite Pro Bowl Battle of the Gridiron. Then on ABC's Pro Bowlers Tour, it's the Quaker State 250. And on ABC's Wide World of Sports, it's elegance and artistry on the ice. Two-time Olympic gold medalists Gordieva and Grinkov headline the field in the pairs competition at the Fresh Look World Challenge of Champions. It's all Saturday here on ABC.
Money, sex, murder. Some people just can't get enough. Dennis Franz, Peter Strauss, Heather Locklear, the hottest miniseries this year. Texas Justice, February 12th on ABC.
I've got some bad news. We're lunch. Because now the Illinois Lottery is trying to make everyone a fat cat. When you can win thousands of dollars instantly and a $25,000 grand prize, everyone's going to want to be a fat cat.
That cat is back, but for a limited time. So if you've got a second,
Wait! Are we men or mice?
play this instant.
Well, drama and high emotion at the O.J. Simpson murder trial today. For the first time, a member of Nicole Brown Simpson's family took the stand, and Denise Brown's testimony was riveting. More than once, she was overcome with emotion as she talked about her sister's relationship with O.J. Simpson. As ABC correspondent Tom Foreman will show you, it was an unforgettable end to the first week of testimony.
The people call Denise Brown.
She is without question the most dramatic prosecution witness so far. And within minutes of taking the stand, Denise Brown, the older sister of Nicole Brown Simpson, was telling the story of a night when she, Nicole, and O.J. went out drinking with friends in a crowded restaurant.
Well, we were all drinking and goofing around and being loud and dancing and having a great time. And then at one point, O.J. grabbed Nicole's crotch and said, "This is where babies come from, and this belongs to me." And Nicole just sort of wrote it off like it was nothing, like, you know, like she was used to that kind of treatment. And it was like, I thought it was really humiliating, if you ask me.
The defense repeatedly objected at critical times in the testimony. Indeed, in the half hour that Denise Brown was on the stand, the judge and lawyers spent a third of the time huddled in conference. But she had the last word as she told about another night of drinking that ended with everyone in the Simpson home, where Denise told O.J. he was taking her sister for granted.
What reaction, if any, was there by the defendant when you told him that he took your sister, Nicole, for granted?
He got extremely upset.
And what happened next?
He started yelling at me. I'll take her for granted. I do everything for her. I give her everything. And he continued. And then a whole fight broke out. And pictures started flying off the walls. Clothes started flying. He ran upstairs, got clothes, started flying down the stairs. And grabbed Nicole, told her to get out of his house. Wanted us all out of his house. Picked her up, threw her against a wall. Picked her up, threw her out of the house.
She ended up on her... She ended up falling. She ended up on her elbows and on her butt. Then he threw Ed McCabe out. We were all sitting there screaming and crying. And then he grabbed me and threw me out of the house.
Are you okay, Miss Brown?
Yeah, it's just so hard.
During those words, Nicole's father held hands with one of her childhood friends, and Ronald Goldman's stepmother and sister wept. Moments later, at the prosecution's request, court adjourned, and prosecutor Marcia Clark comforted the distraught Denise Brown. It all combined to leave the jury with a powerful set of images, and Denise Brown will be back on the stand Monday morning.
Joining us now from Los Angeles with some perspective on today's testimony are ABC legal correspondent Cynthia McFadden and defense attorney expert Leslie Abramson. Cynthia, let's start with you. You were in court today. While this was happening with Denise Brown, what was O.J. Simpson doing?
Well, Barbara, O.J. Simpson, I think, was trying to avoid eye contact with Denise Brown, and I'm not sure that she wasn't trying to avoid eye contact with him. I think their eyes did meet at one point, but everyone in the courtroom, I think, felt pretty uncomfortable about the testimony, the jurors included.
Was the jury visibly affected? Did anyone cry? What was the reaction?
I didn't see anyone crying, Barbara, and it's interesting because this jury, many of the reporters who have been in the courtroom day after day have said, seem a bit unresponsive. There have been some very funny things that have happened in court, even in murder trials. Sometimes funny things do happen, and sometimes the people in the audience actually burst out laughing, including the lawyers. The jurors, I've never seen one crack a smile.
It's interesting to look at Denise Brown, all in black, and those earrings, those angel earrings. I remember doing some interviews with Nicole Simpson's friends, and they all wear an angel pin or angel earrings as a symbol of their solidarity, I guess. What's going to happen on Monday? Can she, for example, testify that Nicole said that she was afraid of O.J. Simpson, as we've heard her say out of court?
No, she can't, Barbara. The judge has ruled that statements that Nicole made are not admissible, and so she won't be able to testify to that, but expect to hear a lot more about alleged instances of abuse between the two of them.
Leslie, let's go to you. You are a superb defense attorney. What are they going to do, the cross-examination? Do they beat up on Nicole Simpson's sister?
Not if they're thinking clearly. There's nothing for the defense to gain by being cruel to this victim. As Bob Philibosian pointed out today, for one thing, she looks and sounds a great deal like her sister. But beyond that, she's genuinely grieving. And there's no advantage for the defense to gain by beating up on this girl. This is not a case where someone's claiming justifiable homicide. The victim or her family brought it on themselves. The defense's position is that Nicole Brown Simpson was slaughtered by a stranger. Yeah. So by attacking her sister, you're attacking her.
Just briefly, Leslie, how did they do this week, the prosecution and the defense? Sum up the week.
Well, I think the prosecution did better than they actually had a right to expect. The domestic violence evidence, though important to them, was not until today very dramatic. I think, unfortunately, the defense helped through cross-examination that was really rather less than artful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you both so much, and we will be right back.
A week of negotiations comes to an end in Louisville tonight.
But Caterpillar and the UAW are agreeing to meet again.
Residents of a Peoria neighborhood are saying, not in my backyard. We'll tell you why.
HY News at 10 is next.
The all-new Lincoln Continental is so technologically advanced, you control it with the press of a button. Equally as impressive is that with the press of a button, its exclusive 12-function memory profile system sets everything back to where it was.
Your Lincoln.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
The new Lincoln Continental with the 32-valve V8 Intech system, the perfect balance of luxury and technology.
Well, now it's time to check in with Nightline, and Ted Koppel has a preview of tonight's program.
Tonight on Nightline, a videotape shot by tourists, a violent prelude to murder. When the tape is key to finding the murderer, a fight begins between the TV station that owns the tape and the police who want it tonight.
Nightline after your local news. And that is 2020 for tonight. We thank you for joining us.
Remember, we're in touch, so you be in touch. I'm Barbara Walters.
And I'm Hugh Downs.
For all of us here at 2020, have a good, safe weekend. Good night.
"2020 is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. The